This video will cover Chapter 7, Sections 7 and 8. First one here is what is weather? Short little section in the chapter. You should have a short little section of notes in your notebooks about it, including 6 facts and hopefully maybe a diagram or two. Weather is the short-term condition of the atmosphere. It talks about weather describes the temperature, humidity, pressure, dew point, wind direction, cloud cover for that moment at that time. It doesn't talk about how the averages are forever. It doesn't talk about long-term, whether it's dry or wet for months at a time, just the current weather at a moment. If you look at Earth, you'll see that there's a very large imbalance in its energy. Lots and lots of energy is absorbed at the equator, the equator tropical regions, and less energy is absorbed at the poles. This is because Earth undergoes two main processes. It absorbs energy from the sun. Sunlight comes down, goes into the Earth's surface, stays on Earth and warms it, but at the same time, Earth will be losing energy back out into space, outgoing radiation. And overall, if you look at the entire Earth for the entire length of time, those two things are equal. So the overall temperature of Earth has not changed very much in a very, very, very long time. Now, if there's an imbalance in that, as the sunlight hits certain parts of the Earth warmer and makes them warmer than others, that energy needs to be moved around the Earth. It's an imbalance. So this side of the Earth will heat up when the sun is hitting it. That energy needs to be transferred around the Earth. And that is what weather really does. Through ocean currents and wind currents, that energy is transferred around the planet and the overall temperature is equalized. That's the really driving force behind a lot of weather, is to equalize those imbalances. And Chapter 8 goes into a little more detail and talk on Section 8, I should say, the relationship of these weather variables. So what I did for this is I looked just in your workbook. So these are screenshots of the workbook you have, and it compares two different weather variables at a time. So first one here talks about atmospheric pressure as a black line compared to temperature as this kind of grayer line that I can turn blue. And the relationship you can see is this. As the temperature warms, as the temperature goes up, the pressure goes down. These are inversely related variables. Temperature change leads to changes in pressure that is the opposite. This graph shows the relationship between temperature and wind speed, and you can see that as the temperature increases, so does the wind speed. They are related. Typically hotter areas of the Earth tend to be warmer, and I would even say that as the range in temperature changes, the amount of speed of the wind will increase. Wind tries to equalize, it's the movement of air between different pressures, right? So it tries to equalize out those pressures. Those pressures are created by differences in temperature. And this chart shows the temperature here in red compared to the blue line here for dew point. And you can see when the temperature and the dew point meet at this spot, you can look at the relative humidity line, which has been dropping, rises up, and gets to 100% at the exact same time. So temperature and dew point, when they collide, the humidity will be equal to 100%. So overall, the summary is really short here. The change of temperature causes changes in other weather variables. We kind of discussed most of this stuff already in previous sections. So I hope this short video helpful filling in a couple gaps and completing out, almost completing out Chapter 7.